Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of Season Ticket Holders. I'm your host, Dane Lillingstone, and it's Fight Week, baby. So back by very popular demand. I've been getting hit up by some comments on Instagram. He's our favourite UFC MMA commentator, mate. He is a cameraman, videographer extraordinaire, the undefeated Manly Muay Thai champion, Tom Hayfield. Welcome back to the show, mate.
Wow, what a welcome. It is good to be back, Dane. It's been a little while. You were cheating on me there for a little bit, but we're back in business. The dream team, we're back on.
I hope you accept my peace offering, mate. I did miss you. We obviously tried to get you on a couple of times, but you're a popular man. What can I say? High
Yeah,
demand, agents couldn't work out a deal.
no, that's fine. No, it was definitely on my part as well, man, but it's good to be back. I love doing this with you, and I'm so excited for this weekend and the fights coming up and to talk to you about them. And yeah, I'm stoked, man. It's good to be back.
Mate, how exciting. Let's dive straight into it because I know you and I have harped on in the past, well, all year really, previewing these pay-per-views about how top-heavy they can be and all that type of thing. But not only do we have the headline by our boy Jack Della Maddalena against Islam Makhachev, an absolute super fight on its own, backed it up with Valentina Shevchenko, with Zhang Weili, a stunning pound-for-pound 1v2 fight. You're rounding it out with the Leon Edwards, Benyal Del Rouge, Bo Nickal, Cody Haddon, who I want to get into later, who's opening up the prelims, an Aussie Perth product. It's a card that's top heavy, then goes all the way down as well. Tracy Cortez is on the prelims as well, mate. So absolutely frothing for this card. Madison Square Garden. It doesn't get any bigger. One of the biggest fight arenas in the world, historic. And it's our boy Jack headlining it all. Let's just get straight into it, mate, because this is the fight that we all really wanted to see. Obviously, Jack pulled it off against Belal Muhammad in that last fight. We did wrap up that one together, what he was able to do, how far, how his grappling has come. We all knew what type of elite striker, if not the best boxer, top 3 in the UFC. He's up against the wrestling Dagestani boogie monster in Makhachev. Mate, how are you feeling heading into this one?
Well, we're on such a high when Jack pulled that off and he won the belt and he beat Belal Muhammad. And that was, man, I remember talking to you after then. And just as an Aussie UFC fan, we were just buzzing. And to be honest, I don't think the hype stopped. He's an awesome champion. Australia's proud of him. And here he goes again to defend his belt for the first time against probably one of the scariest, the pound for pound greatest fighter, arguably in the world, Islam Makhachev in Madison Square Garden in New York. Like, it doesn't get much bigger. Super proud of Jack. It's scary, man. Like, coming up against Islam Makhachev is not an easy fight in any way. And obviously Makhachev is coming up in weight to welterweight to match Jack. So we've never seen Makhachev fight at a heavier weight. Yeah, it's that Dagestani grappling. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I feel like Jack had an answer for Belal's takedowns and ground game in that fight, but is Islam Makhachev on a whole nother level with that? We're about to find out.
Let's get into Jack, because like you said, it was working with Craig Jones. I know Alexander Volkanovski's flown over to Perth to help him in this training camp as well. So he's got some absolutely elite guys around him. But you and I were both shocked at just how far, like you mentioned, his grappling, his defense, how he was able to roll out of positions. We all knew the striking power that he had. Now, that was back in May, fight of the night, 5-round war. Jack, man, I was watching some highlights again. The way he pushed, even though he was on top of the scorecards, mate, the fact that he pushed bloodied up to the very end. Like, he didn't put his hat on the rack, man. He just kept fighting 5 rounds. It's an absolute war. It's what you want to see. The question about Jack was always his wrestling, his grappling. How was he going to go? We all saw him explode onto the UFC scene with a bunch of first round. I think he started with 3 first round finishes in the UFC with TKO, then a rear naked as well. So 4 first round finishes to make his UFC debut to come in. He had a split decision with Kevin Holland. That was one of the times that he was tested. Backed it up with a KO and a stunning one against Gilbert Burns. And now obviously this win against Belal to become the UFC welterweight champion. You only have to imagine, mate, having these guys like Craig Jones and Volkanovski surrounding him, you'd think his grappling would go to an even another level, right? And if anyone can help him do it, it's the great Volkanovski, because he was the guy who pushed Islam in that first fight, arguably won that fight in many people's eyes. Obviously, the rematch did not go his way at all. But could he be surrounded by a better team? Like, my tip, I'm going to give my tip right now. I want to go Jack by knockout. I feel like that is the bet that I can't resist. And I've heard a lot of people in his camp say they're confident that he will knock him out. And it's paying $5.50. I just had a look. It's a
There you
juicy bet.
go.
Jack is going to start as about a 3-1 underdog. He's going to be paying about $3.20 heading into this fight. So that's a pretty fair underdog. Even though Islam's moving up, and by all reports coming out of New York, he's bulked up. It looks like he's put on that size to come up to welterweight. Jack's still going to come into this fight as a pretty solid underdog. Is that fair?
Yeah, well, I think Islam Makhachev has proven time and time again how dominant he is and how much of a successful champion he was in his weight division. But just touching on what you said, what an amazing team and how good all the Aussies get behind their own and go and help each other train. And you couldn't have anyone better with Volk coming into your camp to help you, as he's fought Islam Makhachev twice. So he knows him inside out. He would have all the tricks up his sleeve. And then obviously Craig Jones back in the camp doing the ground jiu-jitsu game to try and, have an answer for that Dagestani kind of wrestling, that smothering, all over you kind of technique. And it definitely helped with the Bilal fight, and Jack seemed to have an answer. So hopefully they've done the same for Islam. I do fear that Islam, his style is obviously he's much more sneakier with his kind of takedowns. Like he's that pressure Khabib style. He pushes you against the cage. He little trips to get you on the ground. Where I feel like Bilal just shot in from a distance. Lots of single leg, double legs. Like where Jack could kind of see them coming. I fear Islam's a little bit more crafty, kind of clinches you. He's got that smothering and then, those little trips and stuff. But let's hope that Jack has an answer and that team has come up with a pretty solid game plan for an answer against Islam Makhachev.
Well, let's get into the challenger in this regard anyway. He's 27-1 now. I find it interesting. His one loss came back in UFC 192 back in October 2015, and that was a KO. It was from Adriano Martins. So I couldn't tell you much. The name that doesn't really ring a bell in my
Wasn't that
UFC
like
history
one of his
book.
first ever fights in the
It was
UFC or
his
something?
second UFC fight. So he was
Wow.
12-0 coming in. He had a really good debut with the submission of Rear Naked in his first UFC fight. And then a few months later, October 2015, he got knocked out in the first round. So he has been knocked out before. Obviously, that's a decade ago now, and he has only won since then. I mean, compiling an absolutely dominant record. We saw those back-to-back fights against Volk after arguably losing a decision back in February 2023, comes back and gets that head kick knockout to follow up back in October 2023. Dustin Poirier since then and Renato Moicano made light work of him in the first round with a submission. Mate, we've seen some chinks in his armor as far as a guy like Volk being littler and small, being able to push it to him. Now he's going to make that move up to do it.
Mm.
Do you think he will have any sort of advantages against Jack coming into this? I mean, obviously it's the grappling. That's the obvious one. But do you feel like that might be taken away the fact that he is having to move up a weight division?
Yeah, well, I guess it's for his legacy. He wants that next belt in the next weight division. But it is interesting, kind of what you were saying. Bulk was quite visibly the smaller guy in their fights, and Islam looked massive. And now Islam's the one moving up. And Jack's got that crisp boxing. He's a big guy. You see him training against Volk. He looks massive compared to Volk. So there's an indication. I don't know. It's going to be so interesting to see. I really like your bet, and I'm probably going to slap, maybe $20 on it, and we're in it together. But if he can pull that knockout and if it goes into the later rounds and, and Jack can land some solid punches, you never know, man. Yeah, I'm so excited. Obviously a bit biased because we're Aussie and we want our boy to win and we want him to keep the belt. And what a way to do it. And against Islam Makhachev, pretty crazy for his legacy.
Mate, and the beautiful thing too, you said Aussie fight fans. We're very obviously Aussie fight fans. And Jack has openly said he wants this for revenge for Volk. Now, how cool is that? I mean, that's just an awesome thing
Pretty
to even
good.
admit it. I mean, and Jack's a pretty humble guy, mate. Like, I've heard something that said
Apparently
if he didn't have to
Volk,
do media,
apparently
you go.
Volk flew over there to train with him off his own bat, like paid for himself and went over there. So it just shows how they're all there to help each other. And Jack definitely would want it back for Volk. He's out there to get him.
Mate, that Aussie fighting spirit, it's beautiful to see the fact that we do have two Aussie champions and they're training together. I think that's absolutely awesome. I want to just get to our tip because Islam, the favorite at the moment is $3 submission. It's $3.10 by point. So those are the favorite things as far as the betting market goes. And like I said, he's going to be about $1.35 favorite. So he's rated a pretty heavy favorite in the books, despite the fact that he's going up based on his record. But if you ask me, I think that's riding Jack off a little bit. Like, if anything, the fact that they are moving up a weight division, Makhachev, I think that negates a little bit of that wrestling that he has because he is going to have to deal with that size, whether he's put that size on or not. So I think that is a bit unfair on Jack. I would say this fight would be more like a 50-50 almost because I feel like that is how hard it is. And I've had a lot of good people come out and say they are tipping Jack in this fight, mate. So that's my tip anyway. I don't know if I got my heart in my sleeve too much, but I feel like that boxing, that crisp boxing, I feel like if we can get the pressure on and we can see him negate the wrestling, if Jack can do it like he did with Bilal, obviously a totally different beast against one of these pound-for-pound kings. But if he can do it, his striking is going to be very tough to deal with. If Volk can land some punches on Islam, then he's going to have a long night against Jack, mate. What's your tip for this fight?
But then you think Islam got Volk with a head kick. So he's got some pretty good striking too. So
You're right.
yeah,
You are right. And he
yeah.
set Volk up very well in that second fight. He obviously
Mm,
had adapted and he had brought it forward. I'm thinking more back to that first fight where obviously,
mm,
Volk did have a lot of success on the feet and he was looking very good for large chunks of that fight. But what is your tip for
yeah.
this one, mate?
I've just got to go with my heart and just pick Jack. I'm either thinking probably decision or a knockout.
Yeah, I mean, either way, right? We want this to be like
What
a
do you reckon,
5-round
Dane?
war. Well, no, I'm gonna go knockout. I'm gonna go Jack by knockout. I can't look past that. If it does go 5 rounds, I feel like Islam probably has imposed his will a bit and has got his wrestling. I feel like if Jack were to do it, he's going to come in there and finish it. That's just how I feel the fight would go down. But either way, there's a potential super fight looming with Ilia Topuria potentially in the future, mate. Depending on how this fight goes, and that will be very interesting to see. But anyway, what a main event we have at Madison Square Garden! Absolute thriller. I do want to get into the co-main event for the women's flyweight championship with Valentina Shevchenko against Zhang Weili. I got to interview Valentina, mate. Again, I know listeners
Oh,
of this
good.
podcast would know I might have put her offside a little bit with a question about her age. Last time I interviewed her, I can report and confirm for you, Tom, no such issues this time, mate. We're best of
Did she
friends.
remember you, Dane,
Um,
or did she remember you?
Definitely not. I don't think so. She did say hello, Dane. But I did say I'm Dane from Fox Sports at the beginning, so I don't think she did. Obviously, does a lot of interviews. I won't take it personally, Valentina, if you're out there.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but mate, the more you look into this fight, the bigger of a super fight it does become. Similar to Islam moving up, that's what Weili has decided to do here to try and take on Valentina. And she's been an absolute tear. Really exciting to watch. You and I actually watched her last fight against Tatiana Suarez in Sydney back in February. So we actually did get to see her in person, and that was spoken as like a big challenge for her. She got the job done in a unanimous decision before vacating the belt now to move up. She was on now a 5-fight winning streak. Her little hiccup was against Rosana Marunez. She lost back-to-back fights to her, but you have to go back to her debut fight back in 2013 to find Weili's last loss. So that's the type of record that she's compiled. On the flip side, obviously you got Valentina, who's built a resume as just one of the women's goats. If it wasn't for Amanda Nunes and a shock loss against Alexa Grasso, again, she's barely been troubled by anyone. 25-4 now. She avenged that loss to Grasso back in 2023, coming off unanimous decision win against Furor back in May. How do you see this one going out, mate? Because I think this one is really exciting.
This is really exciting. This is just two just powerhouses going at it. They're both extremely disciplined, very good at the whole every kind of aspect of mixed martial arts. We saw Weili fight in Sydney. Seeing her hit pads in real life was pretty wild. She training out of at Bang Tao in Thailand, and I don't know. I'm siding with her. I think it's just because maybe we have seen her in real life, and there's a bit of that. Shevchenko, you can't put it past her, and she's proved it time and time again. She's been around for years, and it's going to be an awesome fight. And what a great co-main event! And I could see this being a 5-round war.
Me too, mate. My tip is definitely decision. I'm not really 100% sure on which way I want to go yet, but Shevchenko, just an elite. They're both just really
Mm.
well-rounded fighters. And I could see it really going either way, but I would tip a decision. Shevchenko's coming off back-to-back decision wins in her career. Weili as well. She's coming off 3 straight decision wins. So I think decision is the tip here, no matter which way you think it's going to go. And if Shevchenko does win it, that really puts a feather in her cap as far as her legacy, laying claim to being one of the women's GOATs alongside Amanda Nunes. I did ask her, Amanda Nunes said that she does want to come back now and fight the winner in the next weight division up. And I did ask Valentina, is she thinking that she wants to move up one more time before it's all said and done, before she hangs up the boots? But she did not give me anything, mate. She does not want to talk about shit. I'm focused on this fight right now. She didn't want to talk too much about her legacy. She said, I'm just focused on Weili. I'm really trying to get it out of her. But Amanda Nunes did take care of her back in the day. So that could be a potential one down the track, but it is true. She's got to get through Weili, and that's going to be absolutely a tough war. And I think we are going to expect a bit of a 5-round war in this one, mate. Do you
How
have a
long
pick?
did you get with her when you interviewed her, Dane?
Get with her. No, mate. We had a Zoom chat earlier today doing the media on the lead up for 322, and I got a nice one-on-one time. She's very lovely, and she was very positive, but she's just very focused. She's locked in. She doesn't really
Mm.
want to think about legacy, thinking too much in the future. Even the retirement, that's the question I think I set her off with last time when I asked her what's left for you to do in your career, approaching the end of your 30s. I learnt better not to ask her about that this time, but I tried to word it in a different way, as in like, what do you want to do for your legacy now? And she just said, look, Weili's in front of me, and I'm going to keep fighting for as long as I can. She's 37 now, I believe. Yeah, as long as she can keep fighting, mate. She's been around for so long. That's the crazy thing.
Yeah.
I was looking at the highlights of the Nunes fights. They were back in 2016 and 2017. You know what I mean? And it's like, she's still going, and she's
Yeah.
still at the top of her game.
What a
Yeah, and
weapon.
that's 2 losses. Yeah, and yeah, absolutely incredible career, but she's still going, mate. So I think that's one to watch. 2 really good title fights. So I think the UFC is finally doing us a solid after all those ones we crapped on about being too top heavy. Now we go further down the card, mate. It's a bit of like a welterweight, I suppose, working out the rankings in a way on how it's all
Mm.
going to work. Sean Brady and Michael Morales. Sean Brady is coming off that submission over Leon Edwards back in March in London to embarrass the former champion in
Massive.
front of his home crowd. Mate, what did you
Mm.
remember of that fight?
Yeah, well, it was really cool, and how funny that they're both on this card and they're the one fight after the other, and yeah, that's going to be an awesome fight, man. I'm pumped. Sorry, we'll go to the next fight after, but what are your thoughts on this one? Because
Well, I was going to say,
yeah,
no, they all tie in together, to be fair, because we've got 3 welterweight fights all on the main card. So that's what I was sort of getting at. It's like they're almost sort of organizing the division all in the one card. He's up against Michael Morales, who is 18-0 and coming off back-to-back first-round finishes against Gilbert Burns and Neil Magny. So no plebs, mate.
yes,
He's
that's
yeah,
solid.
18-0. How many fights in the UFC now? That's yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 straight wins in the UFC. That's 4 finishes. So incredible record. So the winner of this is going to be right up there as far as contenders. I can't say they have a pick. I mean, I never bet against the winning streak, mate. So that's
Mm.
my pick, Morales. And then the very next fight, obviously, we just talked about, and I was just listening to on Errol Helwani a bit, as Leon Edwards, the former champion, who has now coming off back-to-back losses after losing the belt to Bilal and then getting submitted in the 4th round against Brady, who will fight. So that's pretty crazy. And he's up against Carlos Prates, who was underwhelming when he first came in, but we all know what he can do. He lost Ian Machado Gary in that 5-round decision back in April, backed it up with a spinning back elbow, first round finish against Jeff Neal. How good's this
That
welterweight
was
division?
It's stacked, man. And how funny they're all on this card, and this is gonna, organize the order a bit. And Leon Edwards versus Prates is like, I reckon that's gonna be one of the highlights of the card. It's 2 strikers going at it. Prates coming off that spinning elbow. I was listening to Leon Edwards, that same interview, I think, and he was saying that he's versed a lot of wrestlers in his last few fights, and he's excited to verse a striker, and he reckons he fights differently when he's versing a striker. And this could be fireworks, man. We could be in for something really special. And it's 2 guys that have, got a point to prove, and there's a lot at stake. And if this is this could be a striking masterclass, and we could see something pretty special.
Do you think Edwards can bounce back? I mean, that's 2 bad losses. I remember there was so much hype around him back in the day, being the best striker,
He was
boxer in
the
the UFC.
champ. Yeah, it's funny with Edwards, there's some fights where he almost it's like he doesn't quite show up or he gets really affected by, the momentum or like but then you see him that fight against Usman where he was losing for 4.5 rounds and then he pulled that head kick out of nowhere and won it. Like, so it
True.
depends what
What a
kind of
fight.
Leon rocks up and yeah, it'll be interesting. I don't think he's done yet. He was the champ. He's very good. He's super skilled and this could be his little comeback. You know, this could be him saying, you know, I'm still here and I deserve my respect.
Well, it's going to be a big flip, mate, because if he does lose this, that's 3 in a row. We know in the UFC, I mean, even being a former
Yeah.
champion, you don't normally go 3, 4 in a row without getting a bit of a tap by Uncle Dana. Obviously, being the former champion, he will get a few more chances, but if he does come up with a third straight L, what a fall from Grace. Because I was listening to an
Yeah.
old Joe Rogan podcast the other day, and he was talking about like going down as like a GOAT. That was the sort of,
Mm.
hype that was around him during the run and just how good he could be. But that's obviously faded away very quickly. So I'd like to see him bounce back, mate, but it's going to be tough
Remember when
against a real
Nate
lethal.
Diaz nearly beat him back in the day?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Remember that fight? It was, oh, I'm guessing now, it was probably 8 years ago, and him and Nate Diaz had a fight, and Nate Diaz could have finished him, but instead he had him rocked and pointed at him and started getting all like gangster on him, and he recovered, and then he won the fight.
Back it was June 2021, mate. That was back, 4 years ago now. I do remember pieces of it. I know what chart you're talking about. I do.
And everyone was
Um,
like, yo, you've won it. And Diaz just decided to just point at him and laugh and talk smack.
don't give a shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'd like to. Well, I'd like to see him bounce back, mate. But I want to see what this Morales guy can do against Sean Brady with that winning streak like that and coming off the finishes that he is. I'm very excited to see if he can back it up and that step up because he's putting himself right in that title picture at the welterweight if he can do it. And mate, just rounding out the main card with lightweight bout Benil Dariush and Benoit Saint Denis. These guys, obviously, they did have a bit of hype. They're both coming off sort of checkered. Dariush has lost 2 of his last 3. Obviously, bounced back with a win against Moicano back in June. And Saint Denis, same thing. He was on a nice little run. He's put together 2 back-to-back submissions now, Rufi and Prepelec. But then he was coming off 2 losses before that. So I guess this is a sort of a feeling out in that division to see which one can sort of get back to it, mate. Do you have a tip?
I'm gonna go Saint Denis. I think, yeah, obviously he lost to Poirier, but I don't know. He's like an ex-army veteran, isn't he? He's a bit of a hard dude. I reckon. I don't know. I'm just gonna go with him. I like him.
French Army Special Forces. Yeah, man, I'm
There
quick
you go.
today.
You're
Look
not
at
messing with that bloke.
that. Mate, I'll go with that too. Why not?
Yeah.
But just if we can just look at the overall card though as a whole. I mean, looking at those 5 fights, we haven't seen a card put together like that in a while, have we? Just because there's excitement, like a former champion, 2 title fights, which they have done, but then not really back it up. Like as a card, just as a main card as a whole, what do you think?
I think it's a great card. I think it's one of the better cards of the year. It's a get down the pub early lock-in card. Get all your mates, get down there at 10 a.m., get the best table in the house, and you're in for a great day. What a way to finish it with an Aussie fighting. The pubs are going to be going off, and we'll be a few pints deep by then, Dane, and I can't wait, mate.
You. I think it's going to be a very long weekend. Before we get into where we're going to be though, I do want to touch on because not only is the main card stacked, and that's what we're really excited for. I think this is one of the best preliminary cards we've seen, headlined by Bo Nickal in the main preliminary fight. Now, so much hype around Bo. He was 7-0, coming from this incredible wrestling background, and that loss against Ranier de Ritter, very disappointing. I think a lot of people were
Mm.
disappointed in the way that went down. He's going to try and bounce back against Rodolfo Vieira, who's 11-3. What were your thoughts on Bo? Were you on the Bo Nickal train before it got derailed?
He was very, very hyped. And like, it was kind of almost the Dana White privilege was kind of showing like the UFC was really, really pumping him up, investing in him. And yeah, he's obviously a great fighter, but there was that loss there. And now I don't know if this is, they always put a decent name to headline the prelims, but this is a little bit of a step down, I guess, for Bo, as he was kind of, he was on massive cards and he was like the third fight. Like it was, yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's a little bit of a fall from grace, but he's still super young and this could be a bit of a fight just to get him back in the winning column and propel his career forward.
Well, I feel like that's exactly what it is, and that's what they've done with the matchmaking. 29, so still very much in that prime window, and I feel like they're expecting him to come out and make a bit of a statement win. I'm tipping him
Mm.
to do that, but whether he can do it or not remains to be seen. But I wasn't exactly on the train, but I did like the high level that he has and possesses and can bring into the UFC. If he can put it all together, it will be good. Roman Kopylov and Gregory Rodriguez, that's going to be the next one. But I want to get into Tracy Cortez, everyone's favorite. I love Tracy, love watching her fight. She backs it up in the octagon, man. She's really cool style outside of it. She's coming off a decision win back in June, and she's coming up against Erin Blanchfield in the women's flyweight division. She's coming off a win over Rose Namarunas. So I'm hoping Tracy can put it together and keep building that streak, mate. Do you have a tip in that one?
Yeah, I'm hoping Tracy as well. She's always good to watch fight. And like, man, even these prelims, like you got to get down there early and watch all these. These are great fights. Like such a good card.
Well, I'm saving the best for last, mate, because I did get to interview a second UFC fighter, and that is a guy who many people may know more of after this weekend, and that's actually what he told me today. It's Cody Haddon, the Perth product, mate. He is entering his second UFC fight. He's coming up with an absolute killer against Malcolm Wellmaker, and that fight is going to open the prelims. Now, the card for this in New York is 2 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time. That's 1 o'clock for our Queensland listeners up there. So the main prelims will start at 12 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time. Now, I got to speak to Cody today, mate, and I can tell you right now, I didn't know what to expect, and you never know with UFC fighters like rugby league players. Interviews can be one or another. They may be really chatty, or they may just give really short answers. Cody was an
Mm.
amazing interview. I got to say, I was super impressed by this guy, man. Young, humble. He's got a record of 8-1. Uh, and his only loss came against Steve Erceg. Of course, we all know Steve's story. He was, inches away from winning the title against Pantoja, and that was his third fight. He lost a hard-fought decision. Since then, he's strung together. So he's 8-1. He's strung together 6 wins. Since then, he made his UFC debut back in October after going through Dana White's Contender Series, a decision win. Before that, he had a couple of rear naked chokes, a knee finish, some strikes. Now, Della Maddalena came out and said he rates him as one of the best boxers in the UFC already. Already, he said that.
Wow.
That's what JDM has come out and said. They don't train together, but they are obviously both from Perth. And I put that to him today. He said he was shocked. He can't believe that sort of recognition. They said it was his dream since he was 6 years old to be in the UFC, mate. He grew up loving the Karate Kid movies. His older brothers used to give it to him. He got into Taekwondo originally, then into boxing, kickboxing, then into boxing, then transitioned to MMA. He said it was his dream to be in the UFC by 18. He said his 18th birthday was fucking terrible because he didn't achieve his dream of being in the UFC. Fast forward about 10 or so years, mate, and he did get in the UFC. Hard fought decision win, and just really nice, humble sort of guy. And if we can listen to JDM, I mean, who would have thought he'd come out and said, I actually, originally the quotes were, he said, with Fox Sports, he said, I think he has the potential. And then he thought about it and said, no, I actually think I already rate him above with me and a couple other guys like Taporia that highly. Can you believe that sort of hype from a guy that many people never heard of?
Yeah, that's a massive rap. I haven't heard much about him, but man, another Aussie in the UFC, and hopefully he does live up to that hype, and we could potentially have another champ on our hands. And what a legend!
There is something in the water in Perth, bro.
Yeah, what's
I,
going on over there? It's awesome though.
I, I just don't. They produce. Not only does the UFC seem to take their pay-per-views almost exclusively to Perth, well, some to Sydney now, but they love going to Perth with their big cards.
Mm,
We got Della doing it, and then there's this young sort of assembly line of fighters that are coming out of Perth. But let me tell you, man, if
so
you're ever going
good.
to watch a prelim, I think make sure you tune in to Cody. In
Definitely.
saying that, though, he has a very, very hard fight on his hands. He did end up taking this fight last month. Now, Wellmaker, again, he's also one to watch. His opponent, he's 10-0, and he is coming off 3 first-round finishes, 2 in the UFC, 1 in the Contender Series. 3 right hooks, to be very specific with you. power in the hands. If Cody's as good as boxer with his knees, he's going to have to pull out all that defensive effort to try and get it done. But this is a bantamweight fight, so it's going to be exciting, mate.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I can't wait to see it. Yeah, it's going to be epic. We get down there early and lock in, and what a way to kick off this awesome card. What a way to kick off Sunday.
Well, let's get into it, mate. Where are you going to be watching the fights this weekend?
Well, we have a bit of a crew potentially going to DYRSL, or I might come and join you, Dane. We'll see how we go down at the Sporting Globe.
Oh, is that right, mate? First time hearing about this, so very exciting. I do have a table for
thought I'd
6. I did say I
just
got you a spot if you
surprise
want it,
Just
baby.
turn up.
Yeah, you come on down, mate. I've been talking up the Sporting Globe in Sydney at Barangaroo. Please, if you're listening, I've gone there. I went there for the NRL Grand Final. I've gone there for just about every major UFC in the past year. I did originally like the Star Casino and their sports bar, which is still amazing. So still open for sponsors, everyone. But the
Do you
Sporting
get a
Globe
free,
they do.
free little hookup of wings or something with these promos? Like, do you get any kind of maybe some tots or something? Or
I love tots. How did you know, man? If you come down on Sunday, I'll get you the tots, Tom, just for coming on this UFC
yeah,
podcast with you, mate, and being a
that's
legend.
respect. My $90 cab for some free tots, eh?
Can't you get the ferry, you Northern Beaches people? Come on, mate.
Yeah, I'll get the ferry. That'll be fine. Nah, it'll be good, man. I'm looking forward to it.
I'll
Go,
pay
bro.
for your ferry charge, mate. That'll be payment.
Oh, good. Nah, it's
Yeah,
gonna be
so
good, man.
Sporting Globe got a good crew going down there, mate. This is probably, as far as just overall card, besides Volk fighting, this is probably the card overall that I'm looking forward to most this year. UFC traditionally used to put on a big New Year's Day sort of card, New Year's Eve sort of card, but they seem to have swapped that to like a November card now. So, I mean, I think that's super exciting, and I absolutely can't wait to bring on the fights. Tommy, it's been too long, mate, but now you're back, back by popular demand, mate. The fans were screaming out for it. They all wanted you back. So thank you for joining us again on Season Ticket Holder.
How good. Do you know who that actually was who commented? It's one of my best mates. Shout out to
I can
Adam
only assume it was
Leonard.
one of your mates.
And he wrote that comment, and I saw it, and it worked, Adam. I'm back. So, yeah, our little plan worked. There you go.
Shout out to Adam, mate. Thank you very much, Tommy. I'm sure we'll try and, now the footy season's over too, I'm sure we'll try and get you back for a wrap. We'll try and work that out for next week, mate. Hopefully we'll find our boy Jack defending his title. I'd love to see Haddon pull it off, mate, because he's exciting. Bring it on, baby. Aussie fights, they're back. UFC 322 Sunday. Let's go. Thanks for listening, everyone. Please follow us on social media. Take care. We'll talk to you soon.